Hello, I'm Julianne, and welcome to Conversations for Conscious Rebels, gracefully disrupting the way that we look at storytelling and conversations and how that can change the way we look at life. I'm the host of the show. I'm also a book publisher of 17 years, a TEDx speaker, a best-selling author, and a radio and podcast host and guest. This is going to be a weekly show, and every other episode will be a conversation with somebody that didn't fall in line, somebody who chose a different rhythm, somebody who turned pain into wisdom. I call them conscious rebels, not because they shout louder, but because they listen deeper. They listen to the body, they listen to the earth, they listen to the story within. If you've ever felt bent out of shape by life, if you've ever been told that you're too much or too sensitive, too unconventional, if the truth curves away from the straight path society lays out for you, then this is the space for you. Because healing isn't always about becoming straight. It's about becoming whole. Sometimes the most powerful medicine is your own story. So let's start with mine. At 17 in England, my body was declared unacceptable. I was too curved. I was too defiant. I was off-center. Scoliosis was the diagnosis, but the real condition was non-conformity. And the cure? They broke my back to straighten my spine. But what they really wanted to do was to straighten me. At the age of 17 in the UK, your parents decide the fate of your body. And with my father's permission, they broke my back and they straightened it with steel rods. And that was 6 months in hospital. My father literally brought me back in line, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually, into obedience, into alignment with someone else's beliefs, his beliefs. It's the kind of straightness, it isn't about posture, but it was about control. You can think of the spine as a symbol. It carries us. It's our core. It's our access, our truth. But mine was used as a battleground for control. My scoliosis wasn't just a curve in my back. It became a metaphor for how much I resisted being shaped by others, how much I bent towards truth, not tradition. And when I didn't bend enough, they broke me. That decision to have my spine fused and surgically broken to be straightened wasn't made by me. It was made for me, as if I was a problem that had to be corrected. I had to be put back in line. They used the language of concern and what they thought was best for me. But underneath it, it was just a story about control. And that moment planted a story deep in my own body that I must obey to be accepted, that rebellion is dangerous, that my body must conform to belong. We all know that. We're too fat, we're too thin, we're too tall, we're too small. You must conform if you want to belong. Fast forward to many decades later, I'm living in Mexico, I'm free, I'm independent, until my spine spoke again. This time it was a collapsed vertebrae. I had crushing nerve pain, I had paralysis, I couldn't walk, I couldn't even sit up, I couldn't stand. I literally had to lay flat on my back for 2 months. And of course, that rose all the same fears: surgery, dependency, not being able to walk, not being able to live a normal life. and the medical system taking control. But this time, I chose differently. This time, I chose my own path. I remembered the lessons from my first story. When others write your healing, they erase your wisdom. This time, I listened to my own voice. I refused surgery. I refused to be put back in line by somebody else. They literally wanted to remove 5 of my vertebrae. Literally remove my spine. So instead, I followed stories. I followed the stories of people who had healed themselves through movement or through presence and through embodiment, through different ways of healing. And that's when I discovered Feldenkrais. Feldenkrais is a practice that doesn't force the body. It invites the body. Actually, it helps us to trust our own body and to trust our own movement. When I was working with Wally, who was the practitioner here in Mexico, he told me that I was responsible just as much as him in the healing process. And in that first session, I got up from the massage table and I stood and I walked. And that was just in the first session. And from that moment on, I just kept moving forward and proving that, in fact, you can heal even if you have collapsed vertebrae. And I still do have collapsed vertebrae. I'm very mindful of that, but I still live a relatively normal life. I walk the beach and I swim and I teach, and I'm still listening to stories so that I can reclaim even more strength in my back. But I know I'm going to do that through stories. I'm not living someone else's story of what's possible. And that's really what this podcast is all about. That is the heart of this podcast. It's about exploring what becomes possible when we reclaim our own story, when we choose not to conform, but to become conscious rebels. I think you're going to really enjoy listening to the stories in this show. And I'm inviting you, if it resonates with you, to please tell other people about this show. Leave a review, leave a comment, and pass the word about being a conscious rebel. Thank you, and I'll see you at the next show. Thank you for walking through today's portal. I invite you to subscribe, share, and join me inside the House of Story Medicine for deeper journeys, book mentorship, and soul story retreats in Mexico. Because your voice matters.
I'm Michelle Abraham, founder of the High Vibe Podcast Network, and we're honored to have Julianne's show, Your Story is Your Portal, as part of our network family. For more inspiring shows like this one, visit highvibepodcastnetwork.com. And don't forget to grab your free gifts from our hosts in the gift vault. Stay high vibe and keep sharing your life.